Welcome to Talking Business. I'm your host, Darcey Edwards with Queen Bee Leadership Training. Talking Business is just that. We are talking business with business leaders, leaders in the community, and those who change their communities with entrepreneurship. This podcast is presented by Xpose Hope as a thank you to the business community. Catch us on all the platforms. Find us, follow us, and review us.
Hi, I'm Betty Campbell, and I'm here with Talking Business, and I'm in place of Darcey Edwards today, but I'm interviewing Gladys Monroy Boutwell, and she is with Insurance by Design. Welcome.
Thank you, Betty, for having me today. I'm pretty excited.
Oh, we're excited to have you here. So tell me a little bit about Insurance by Design. How did that start up?
Well, I've always been in financial services, so that's been my background for 20 plus years, or is it going on 30? It's been a while. I did get into insurance back in 2013. And the reason was when I moved to Oregon, I was my mom's full-time caregiver. Going in an interview was like really hard because everything revolved around her and her schedule and appointments. She was on dialysis, had a lot of health issues. And so I got into coaching, which was a lot of fun. And then through that, I got into insurance because it was a step into an organization to be able to train their sales staff. And it was kind of by fluke I got into insurance, and I was like, wait a second, this isn't what I was expecting to do. Well, this was back in 2013, right when the Affordable Care Act was starting to really take off because it was going to go into effect in 2014. And I met a broker, and I was doing supplemental products, which are all those cancers and your accident, but knowing more about the Affordable Care Act, it's like, that's what I want to do. I want to help others. I want to help them get health insurance. And so I got connected with the broker. And for a month, I was like, do I want to work with you? Do I not? It was that back and forth. And I'm like, okay, after a month of back and forth, I said, okay, we're going to do this. Well, I had, when I moved to Oregon, I had connected with different chambers, different organizations to see what is going on in Oregon, what's going on in business, who knows who, and where could I get a job. But at this point, I knew I was not going to get a 9-to-5. And so when I started with the broker, it was like, here's the situation. And he's like, hey, you're a contract employee, you're good. And I'm like, all right. So everything revolved around mom. On days that she was not on dialysis, I took her with me to all my appointments because I was out and about, and I situate her over here, and she had her tea or her coffee. And then I took care of my clients. So a lot of my clients got to meet her. A lot of them got to go to enrollment events. So it was because of that, connecting with community, connecting with nonprofits, connecting with other assisters, that it really got me into really helping people. Because two of the things that I realized through insurance is that I get to educate, which is one of my values, and I get to help, which is another one of my top values. And that is why I was like, oh, well, this is kind of exciting. I get to do it through insurance. And that's how I got started with insurance.
That's amazing. So what made you decide, I want to do this on my own. I want my own business? That's a big step.
It is. And I probably should have done it sooner. So with the agency I was with, it was always when I owned this agency, the two owners were a little bit older. I knew they were going to retire at some point. I realized I really enjoyed it. And so my thought was I wanted to purchase the agency. And the owners knew that. But there was a sweet deal that came through that I did not know about, where a larger organization said, hey, we want to buy you, and or we want to merge with you. And so they're back and forth. Well, in January of 2018, they let us know that we were merging with this larger organization. And I'm like, oh, second, I was supposed to buy this organization, but I thought, you know what, opportunities. That's the way I saw it, as an opportunity. And it was then that I could have just stepped away and started my agency back in 2018, but I thought, larger organization, this is a great way to go. Mm-hmm. It was quite interesting. Everybody except for one person from the old agency is now gone from the new agency. It was not a good fit. It's all about culture. Really, organizations are about culture. How is it a fit? One of the owners and I, we were the only two people of color within an organization of 60 plus people, which made things a little different. And the way we did business was a little different. And in 2019, I mean, I was miserable. It was just not working out. And it was then that it was at last, I broke away and I started my own thing. And people were like, it's about time. We would have thought you would have done this years ago. But it's very scary when you're going out on your own, not having that backbone of a larger corporation helping, being there, being the one that's carrying a lot of the load. But I would not change it for the world, having gone off on my own. I really enjoy it.
Well, a lot has changed since then. What has happened in the world since you started your business that you would have loved to have had when you were starting that we now have?
So when I first started back in 2013, everything was in person, everything, all the networking, all the meetings, everything. When you called somebody or you met them, it was always an in-person meeting, everything. I mean, I was on the road all the time. When I scheduled an appointment, it's like, okay, I'm going to be in Hillsboro, so let's see how many appointments I can get on that day in Hillsboro so that I am around Hillsboro before I go back to Wilsonville. Or I would start in Hillsboro, make my way to Beaverton, go into Portland, go into Oregon City, back to Wilsonville. So it's this, I had my way of how I did appointments. And when I started in 2019, of course, COVID in 2020, it was, oh my goodness, how am I going to meet with a lot of the people? Now, when it comes to, because I do small group for businesses, I also do a lot of individuals. Well, because of my mom's health, in about 2016, 2017, 2018, on those years, I didn't meet as many people in person because my mom's health was just deteriorating. And so then they understood that. So I did everything over the phone. And they already knew. I mean, we had already built the relationship. That's the thing. We had already built the relationship in person. They already knew me. And so doing it over the phone, doing their updates was not a big deal. Well, come 2020, now it's people don't know me. They can't see me in person. So everything's on the phone, but then Zoom. And so everything became Zoom. And then the other thing that I got introduced to, which was like, how did I not have this sooner, was Calendly. Having a scheduler on the calendar that was online and attached to my calendar so that I can send somebody the link and then they can choose when are they available and I'm available. Whereas before I would send Betty, here 3 times Betty, and then I would send it over to Bill, here's 3 times Bill, and then Bill comes back and says, I want 1 o'clock on next Tuesday, and then Betty says, I want 1 o'clock on next Tuesday. I'm like, sorry, Betty, but I don't, 1 o'clock's taken, and so this back and forth. Calendly has been amazing. Zoom has been amazing, one, because you get to have that FaceTime, even though it's not in person. You still have the expressions and you still have that warmth. But the other thing with Zoom is with all my employees that for the businesses, I did videos for them. And so instead of a presentation in front of them, it was a presentation through video. And I did the presentation as though I was in front of them. And I would point and I would show them, and I would also go, oh, wait, let's go back to page 1. I forgot to talk about alternative medicine. And I would keep that in the video so that they can see my personality, so that they could feel comfortable saying, I can call Gladyss and ask her this question, which might be a silly question, but I'm going to ask her anyway. And so that made a huge difference because now any new employees also had the videos. So they had everything in PDF. They had the videos. They had a link to my calendar, and they had all my contact information all in one email that then the HR or manager or owner can then forward on to their new hire.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So I'm sure that when you were starting, there were things that you did that you wish you never would have done. Name a couple of those.
Oh my goodness. Having started sooner is one thing that's absolutely should have done it sooner.
Believe in yourself and do it.
Yes.
Right.
And it was that scary part. I think that's the fear is always that thing that stops a lot of people, is that fear of failure. What if it doesn't work out? What if? That's one thing that definitely, it's that fear factor. And having started when I did, I mean, it was right before COVID. I had my business plan for 2020. That was my first full year because I started in fourth quarter of 2019.
Right.
So during the busiest time of year, that's another thing that it's like starting a business at your busiest time of year.
Probably not a good idea.
No.
Get the business under your belt a little bit and then go into the busy time of year.
Yep. So that's another thing that I'm like, again, should have started sooner.
So I understand you've written a couple of books. Tell me about your books.
So the first one that I wrote was Health Insurance Secrets Revealed. And the reason for that is that Craig Duswalt, he's one of my mentors that I met way back when. He used to be the handler for Axl Rose, worked for Journey. I mean, he's all in the rock and roll. That's his thing. So that's, how do you become a rock star in your own industry has always been his thing. But he has a training on writing your book. And one of the things that he said was, what is it that you talk about every day? And that's what you need to write your book about. And I was like sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm talking about health insurance. I'm talking about deductibles and max out of pockets and copays. And I have this conversation every day, multiple times a day. And then he started showing how to do it. And so when I do trainings, I always have my books. I have my highlighters, my pens, my pencils, my Post-it notes. I mean, I'm kind of weird. I am a learner. That's one of my strengths. And so I started writing down, because one of the things he said is on every idea, put it on a Post-it note. And so I started writing down the different things that I talked about and put it on a Post-it note. Once you do that, then you cluster everything that comes together, what belongs together. And those clusters of things become your chapters. And then as you do all this, you write your book. So it was really through his idea of how I wrote my book. And what I realized is that a lot of people did not understand, and they still don't understand health insurance. Well, they don't understand insurance as a whole, but health insurance is very specific and people don't understand it. And I wanted to write it in a way to simplify it so that after an hour of meeting with somebody, they understand why they picked the plan that they picked and how to use it properly to reduce their costs. So simplified. And that reached #1 on Amazon back in January of 2017, I think it was, might have been 16. And so my next book, it's not out yet, but it's 101 ways to provide employee benefits for all budgets. So employers might think, well, I can't afford employee benefits. Well, yeah, you can, because it's for all budgets, and some stuff is free.
Exactly.
So you go from free to large budget items and everything in between. And what are those things? So that's my next book.
And so the book has helped you in your business. So the idea of writing a book, would you suggest that to business owners, that they should be writing their book and what they know?
Absolutely. And it's not so much because, I'm going to make money. Mind you, I have gotten some dividends or royalties, if you will, from Amazon because, my book is sold. And I've had friends that have taken their picture with my book, and kind of exciting that it's reached multiple states. So that's the fun part. But it's more for marketing. You leave it with somebody that might have the same type of client, and you're like, hey, give it to your clients. So it's more for marketing than anything else. They get to read about your knowledge before they even do business with you.
That's a great idea.
That's all it is. It's about marketing. Is it cheap? No, it's not. Can you do it pretty inexpensive? Yeah, you can. So there are different ways, but if you want it to look good, because you don't want errors of spelling or grammatical errors. Even my book, I need to make some adjustments to it. I haven't done it because I'm like, this could look better, or I need some spacing, or let's get rid of these wordings. So I need to get the 2.0 version of my current book that's already out, but the information is still relevant. It doesn't matter what plan you have. It's the concepts of how you figure out how your insurance works and how you pick a plan.
Well, we really appreciate you coming by to tell us your insights on business, on how-tos. The idea of adding a book is something nobody has said yet, and it's a great idea. So thanks for sharing that with our audience. We appreciate you coming today.
Thanks so much, Betty. Appreciate you having me.
Xpose Hope believes in being part of the community, and for that reason, we like to give back to our community and our donors. We run sites on Facebook called All About Hillsboro, All About Beaverton, All About Tigard, All About Vancouver, All About Salem, and so on. We do this so that the community can be strong, and through All About Hillsboro, we actually helped save several businesses during the COVID pandemic. So, if you'd like to help us be part of the solution in the community, connect with us at www.xposehope.com/donate. That is XPOSCHOPE.com/donate. That's your donation dollars at work.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business, brought to you by Xpose Hope. We can be found on all of your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, iTunes, all of them. Also, be sure to like us, share us, and leave a comment. Who do you want to hear from? We want to know.